Rightio. In this next video, guys, I'm just going to go over how to assemble this G-clamp. It's fairly straightforward, but if you've never assembled anything before, you're going to find a lot of handy hints in this video. So I'm going to click on New, and this time, instead of creating a part, I need to go down and create an assembly. So I'm going to go to Standard MM, and I'll double click on that. And this is the what you might find. You might find that when you open up your drawing, as a default, it's got this little fella up here. We do not want him. So what we want is just place. So if you've got the place one there already, great. If you don't, click on the down arrow and that's how you'll find it. We'll start off by placing the main component to this G-clamp, which will be our jaw. So here's my file. I've got everything labelled correctly, capital, so that's going to help me out later when I create a parts list. But I'm going to double click on that and zoom out a little. And there is, I'll press escape to get out of that. I only need one of these, and that's my G-clamp, my body or my jaw, I think we're calling it. So that's cool, that's in there now. What I'll do from now on is I'm only going to place in one part at a time. So I'm going to go place, and the next thing I need is my spindle. So double click, and I'm going to left click, put it there. Now here's the trick. Sometimes if I go constrain and I select the two things that are common about them, I might get it to work. However, this is what I've found helps me big time with this assembly sort of stuff. If I click on a part and I go to free rotate and I just rotate it around so that it's roughly in line with how I'm trying to assemble it. So what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to get the center axis of the spindle with the center axis of this hole to line up. You don't have to get them exact, but if you get the axes almost parallel or close to parallel, the computer seems to have a better time pulling them together. So let's give this a go. Let's go constrain, and I've already sort of given it away, but the two main things that are common about these two parts are that they both have a center axis where we want to join. So whenever you see that line come up, that's your center axis of a part. So I want that center axis to join with this center axis. Now, if for whatever reason it's not selecting, hold down Shift in the middle mouse wheel, and sometimes it helps if you just zoom in and you'll find the center axis now. Click the left click and bang, there you go. It's placed that right in there, and what we want to do is, it's already highlighting it for us, we want to mate those two center axes. So by saying mate, it means that those two center axes are going to sit within each other, and I'll click OK. Now whenever I grab this spindle, even if I try to pull it up here, I can't because those axes have mated. So that's all cool. I'm now going to place another part, so let's go with our spindle cap. Double click there and I'll place it. Now, because I created it in the same plane as this one here, this is what I was getting at in a few other drawings. When I created it, I used the same plane. They're already lined up, so it's just one less step. If I go constrain now, and we think about what's common about them, it's not faces, it's center axes again, because they're cylindrical parts. I'll go left click for that center axis, and that center axis, and I'll go OK. So it's put them together for me, which is pretty cool. What will happen now, but is when I move the spindle, they don't necessarily stay together. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put another constrain constraint on these two parts. So if I go constrain, and I'm going to zoom in and select that face, and then what I need to do is I need to think, well, what's the other face that will be touching that? Holding shift, middle mouse wheel, rotating my job around, and it's going to be this face here. If I click on it, they are now touching each other. They're creating a mate. The other one here is flush. You will use that, but not on this one here. And I can click OK. As my job starts coming together, it's worth noting that here are the parts that I've put in to this assembly, and by expanding I can see all the constraints that I've done. Sometimes you might over constrain a job. You can then right click on these and delete them if it's necessary. So I'm going to place my handle down now. I only need one of those, and I'm also going to place, while I'm at it, my handle cap. I need two of these, so I'll put one there, and I've got my other one, I'll just chuck it there. So right click and just go OK. Now I need to get these guys to work together. So let's have a look here. Both cylindrical, so for this constraining and joining of the parts, I'm going to be trying to get their center axes. That's an easy one to get. Once again, zooming in if it doesn't quite get it to begin with. There it is. And they have constrained nicely. I'll click OK. Only problem is when I grab them, they don't stay together. Think of which two surfaces are going to be touching. So I've got that surface there and the inside one. And I'm going to go constrain. Select that surface, shift, middle mouse wheel, orbit your job around. I'm going to zoom in, I'm going to make sure that I get that surface there and they've come together. Click OK. Now this could be a good example for you to see how, if I was to go constrain, center axes, I'm going to give myself a headache here because it's going to be very hard to flip this guy around. So you're better off rotating it before you do that constraint. So I'm just going to go Control Z, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to free rotate, and I'll just rotate him around so it's roughly in the position I want. Now I will complete the constraint and constrain. Click OK, drag him away, constrain the two surfaces that will be touching each other, which will be that one there. Shift and middle mouse wheel to orbit the piece around. Left click, click OK, and now this will all behave as one part. Looks like it's going to line up nicely with our other center axes here, so I can just go constrain, center axes with, it's being difficult. If it's ever been difficult like it is now, simply zoom in to the area that you're trying to constrain with, click OK, and that is pretty good. So I've now assembled my G-clamp. I've got that sorted. So I should be able to do a save on this, and I will. So I'll click on save. It's going to save it in the G-clamp folder. There's no other files here because I'm saving a assembly file and I haven't created one yet. So assembly G-clamp. And I'll click on save. Cool guys, so hopefully this is all starting to work out well for you.